What's up guys, Tamarakshan here. Apple's iPhone XR is one of the most popular iPhones that's available even as of now, and actually there are reasons for it. And this video is the review of the iPhone XR in 2020. Most high-end phones comes with great specs and they become popular and hyped at that time, but for a phone to be in demand even after maybe more than a year after launch, well, for that, the specs have to age well and the phone should be on par with the best phone in the present time. And the iPhone XR is one such device. Now, that doesn't mean you're getting the best flagship performance or output in every factors, but it means it's holding well with the other offerings. Now, for the iPhones, the main issue is the pricing, and when you take a look at the price of the iPhone XR, it's not priced insanely. The official pricing is 52,500 Indian rupees for the base 64GB variant, but at times during sales, you can get it in the 40 to 45,000 range, which is actually not bad. So with the iPhone XR, that Apple insane pricing thing is not very much evident. And now that we got an idea in which category this phone falls into, let's check and see how did all the main factors of this phone age well. And let's start things with the display. When Apple launched the iPhone XR, there were a lot of talks about this display and its display specs. In paper, it looks bad, but in person, the story is different. This is not a very saturated and punchy AMOLED panel, but instead it's more of a true-to-life kind of color-schemed IPS LCD panel. The panel is still a good one, but this is an area where its competitors has done better. You can get a fast refresh rate AMOLED panel display for a lesser price tag, and when you keep the XR side by side with that display, well, that's when you'll start to notice the downsides of the iPhone XR's display. But if you just use the phone without any comparison at a normal viewing distance, this panel is still sharp and gets bright enough. And here, since the display size is 6.1 inches, well, it's a good one for watching videos and playing games. So for the display, it's still a good one, but for the price, it's not holding any top positions. But with the next thing, which is the design and build quality, the iPhone XR does match well with the others. It's the usual glass sandwich between an aluminum frame, and here this frame has held pretty well. This phone was used majority with a case, but still there were occasions when a case was not used, and also since it's been used for this long, it's great to see that the side rails is looking clean. Now the back glass, which is of gloss finish, has also stayed pretty neat with just some minor scratches, and also the camera lens, which by the way is a single camera unit, even though protruding out, has stayed scratch free. As usual, since I use a glass screen guard all the time, I can't comment about the front glass's durability, but overall this phone is put together pretty well with no flex or gap, and that has stayed like that. There is one area in which phones are not appreciated nowadays, and it's actually the buttons, and here I am happy to report that the side key and the volume buttons are all working great with good feedback, and also the mute slider does work like how it was from day one. Then about the only port, which is Lightning, it has also aged great. It still works well, but please do note this port was only used for charging because I do use wireless headphones. Now this display has this big notch that's seen with Apple iPhones with Face ID, and here while consuming media or playing games, it's not going to spoil your experience. And also about Face ID, it's not the fastest method of unlocking, but after using it, I did like it more than Touch ID, but ever since the mask thing has become a standard, Face ID is a pain. Still, without a mask, it does work well even though the angle of unlocking is limited. So overall about the design and build quality, this design which we are all used to with phones nowadays has aged great, and even now it's holding well with the other competitors. And that takes us to the best part of this phone, and also a place that still makes this phone a best option, and it's the performance. Well, performance basically depends on hardware and software, and here firstly for the hardware, well, the processor used here is Apple's A12 Bionic chip. And here the RAM available is 3GB with storage options starting from 64GB. And here the present software version is iOS 13.4.1, and this phone will surely get 3 more years of software support. So this hardware along with great software optimization still does provide excellent user experience. I mean, even though this phone is more than a year old, you won't notice it, and based on performance, it still feels brand new. Everything is smooth and literally there is no lag. I haven't seen any instances where the phone shows hiccups. Basic stuff like scrolling through the menu, browsing a web page, texting or browsing through Instagram feed, exporting a photo in Mobile Lightroom, and even while playing high-end games, the experience is great. I haven't noticed any frame drops while playing games like Call of Duty Mobile, and if gaming is of great priority for you, this phone is still one of the best available for this price. Now since the display is sufficiently big and also the speakers are dual speakers, which even though not very loud, but since it has good sound quality, the overall gaming experience is still the best in the segment. And also by the way, if you have any doubts whether the phone gets hot when playing games, well, even though it does, it's not like crazy hot, and I feel compared to its competition, it stays low in the heat generated scale. And about the RAM, well, 3GB is actually good amount of RAM for iOS, and your 7 to 8 apps stay open in the memory, but about storage, well, that's a place where Apple tricks us. If you're a person who installs a lot of games and takes plenty of videos or pictures, then you need to go for at least 128GB storage option. For me, 64GB is fine because I usually rely a lot on cloud services. So overall, this fact is one that still keeps the iPhone XR at a prime position for this price. But there is another important factor which matters a lot to users nowadays, and that's the cameras. For the iPhone XR, there isn't any fancy multi-camera setup on the rear, but here what you get is like old times, which is just a single camera. It's a 12 megapixel camera which has optical image stabilization, and here this camera does take pretty good photos, especially when there is good lighting. In such scenarios, the shots are detailed with less noise, and also the colors are spot on. Well, even if you move indoors, the camera does show its capabilities, but since there is no night mode available in darker environments, the camera panics the most. Shots become grainy and there is more noise, and overall in darker scenarios, it's not even an average experience. But still, compared to most of the phones in this price range, this single camera does perform pretty well if light is available in some form. Now about the videos it captures, that's where the iPhone XR shines. You can capture 4K at 60 FPS max resolution, and here if video capturing is your thing, this phone won't disappoint you. I would say it's still the best in this segment when it comes to videos. Videos captured are crisp and also pretty stable, and overall let it be outdoor lighting or indoor lighting, the video output is still great. Then about the front camera, well, it's a 7 megapixel camera with standard frame of capture, and here the selfies are pretty neat with not much smoothing or processing. So overall, the camera situation here, even though it does miss out with the ultra-wide and also telephoto options, what's available is performing good. And that too, what I would like to stress is that for taking videos, there isn't much competition for the XR. And now let's move to the last important thing, which is battery. As I did mention that this phone is more than a year old and the battery health now is 94%, but even then the battery backup is impressive. Even while using it heavily, I can easily make it through a day, and the average screen on time I get is approximately 7 hours. This battery is not the biggest in capacity, but the software optimization and also the lower resolution screen does play a big role for this kind of battery life. But still, if you're familiar with Apple, they like to skip at certain areas like the charger. What you get is a very slow 5-watt charger in box, and this charger does take approximately 3 hours to fully charge the phone from 0%. But at least since there is good battery life, I have developed this habit of charging the phone just before going to bed. Now there are some more things we didn't touch, which is this phone supports wireless charging, and also even though the included charger is a slow one, the phone does support fast charging. Then the phone is also IP67 rated, which means flashes won't create much of issues, and also the phone supports dual SIM, where one is eSIM and the other is the standard one. And if in case you're wondering, there is no 3D touch here, but instead there is only haptic touch, and since iOS is now more gesture based, it's not a big deal. Well, I guess that's everything about the iPhone XR in 2020. In the beginning of the video, we did touch on the pricing, and I did mention at times during sale, the price might come in the 40 to 45,000 range, and that pricing is the crucial thing for the iPhone XR. And if you can get the XR in that price range, well then this phone is still a great option. And I do mean it a lot now, mainly because the iPhone SE, which was supposed to be a budget iPhone, has finally been launched, and in India, the pricing of the new iPhone SE is completely wrong. And that makes the iPhone XR still the best value for money iPhone. Now, I didn't test the iPhone SE, but that whole iPhone 8 design and the drawbacks that's bound to follow with that design choice makes me feel that this judgment might not be changing. But still, we need to get the phone in hand and also test it in depth for a better idea, and we'll be doing that in our channel. And if you don't want to miss all those contents, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon. And also if you liked this video, a like will be much appreciated. So to end the video, the iPhone XR is still a great phone, and I do recommend it if you can grab one with the offer price. See you again in the next one. Till then, bye.